Ready to go.
Kia ora koutou, everybody. Welcome to our public excluded council meeting for Wednesday, the 5th of August. If we can be upstanding for our karakia tīmatanga. Mai te pai mana, mai te awatunga, raro ki te araki, tēnā te apure, api ai te whakatai, whānau whai, haere mai te kohi, haumi e, nui e, tai e. Apologies. I understand we have an apology from Joel Natalie. Do we have any other apologies? I'm happy to move. Do we have a second? Thank you, Deputy Mayor. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Conflicts of interest? No. Public forum? No. Discussion of the public forum? Definitely no. Youth Council views?
It beacons on the Chief Executive's report, and it's just noting that they were pleased to see that the event centre name, the new event centre name is in place, Te Hui Tangata, as a system that they strongly supported. And then they would just like to do a thank you and an acknowledgement to the elected members and the Chief Executive for attending their last meeting. It was a great opportunity to discuss their ideas, goals and plans for the year. And they look forward to keeping them updated as they continue with projects and initiatives that
Thank you, Glenda. If you can pass our thanks on to Josie and the committee for their views. Confirmation of the minutes. We have the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on 24th of June 2026. All happy with those? We have one recommendation that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on 24th of June 2026 are true and correct. We have a mover and a seconder.
Happy to move.
Thank you, Councillor Lawrence. Councillor Burns, all in favour? Yes, carried. And 7.2, the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on 29th of July 2026. One recommendation that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on 29th of July 2026 are true and correct. A mover and a seconder for those.
No.
Councillor Della, Councillor Newman, thank you. All in favour?
Aye.
I gather there were no issues. Very good. Reports. 8.1. Jeff.
Kia ora, Worship. Councillors, just like to note as the Youth Council have pointed out the change of the name with the adding of the name Te Huinga Tangata, Te Huinga Tangata, as part of our event centre, Wairarapa event centre, which is fantastic. We've still got a little bit more to do in terms of the branding on the seat out front, but very pleased to welcome that new name for our event centre. In terms of activities, there's been quite a lot on and quite a lot coming up, including Spring Festival or Daffodil Festival, which is just over a month away now. And looking forward to it. I don't know if anyone's looked in their garden, but my daffodils have already started coming ahead. So
Even through the snow, yeah.
so they're thinking it's a little bit earlier this year. So perhaps we'll do well in terms of flowers. I'm very pleased to have one of our own, Madeline, in terms of winning the Supreme Award. It's Charles Rocking Carter. And I note our new values that council staff have just adopted in terms of our values, which are shown there on, I forget which page it is, but represent the way that we as staff work. It was quite a lengthy process to undertake to draft those values and distill down everyone's ideas, some of which are less able to be published, but are still very valuable in terms of input from the team. So we're really happy to have launched those values just last week. In addition, I noted the building consent activity is just taking an interesting turn in terms of the sort of activity that we are seeing in terms of coming through work, and I think that's reflective of the economy that we see today. Very happy to pause and take questions.
Thank you, Jeff. Questions?
I'll start off.
Yes, we got-
Thank you. Jeff, question on page 31 with the wastewater operations. There is in the last paragraph, a reticulation team have addressed a number of infiltration issues in the network, but more were identified and will need to be planned later in the year. Can you elaborate on that? Were they small or were they large infiltration?
If I'm able, I might lean on our infrastructure manager to answer the question.
It varied, but some were large and some were smaller. So yeah, we're trying to address the larger one as a priority. It's a cumulative on a number of different little spots.
They're in, I take it they're in different areas to what was rectified down Lincoln Road already.
And some of them had to be delayed because we did just where they're actually situated. We do to look at services and that, and but with notification.
Thank you.
Now we're confident with Lincoln Road and Taverner further down. We do tend to look further for infiltration, which was compounding in Lincoln and Taverner, but I apologise. We are finding issues further in the network. So, but our main issue with Lincoln and Taverner was the stream of the road in 3 different places, and it was significant infiltration. We're very pleased to have dealt with it.
Thank you. One other question on page 32, the Tuorau Road slip damage. Looking at those photos, is that in the same area that we had the slippage before, just a little bit further up, or was it a totally new area?
I could probably answer that, given I drove it on Sunday to double check. So I can say it doesn't look like that anymore. There has been a lot of work done in terms of additional drainage for water flow that is coming from the hill, so passing that underneath the road and outside. And they have reinstated a single lane all the way through there, so it is looking significantly better. But what I wanted to do was show council that the hillside, as you can see in that second photo on page 32, the hillside is moving completely. So it's the environment around the road that's failing, not the road. And we will need to constantly monitor and reinstate that particular hillside. You're absolutely right. It's just a little bit further uphill from the previous slip, Brian, but it is that entire hill that is slipping. But it's certainly the roading crew. I drove to Whakahono Road and Craigielee Road, and I had to take my hat off to the roading crew. 5 severe weather events in the last 6 months, and those roads are really in good shape. The Fulton Hogan and our roading team have done a fantastic job reinstating the damage that has occurred.
Thank you.
Just an additional question on that, Jeff. Is there, I know we have been told in the past at a meeting that there's a potential for that area of road to possibly close the whole road at some point. I'm just wondering, with you just mentioned then the ongoing work that will need to happen on this road, is there a point where Fulton Hogan will look at this and actually suggest to us that the costs are getting out of hand and we may need to look at alternative decisions on
I think we'd do that in conjunction with Graham Carson, our roading manager. There is an area at the top of that hill that could be used for stockyards. So it is literally the problem is getting quite heavy vehicles down this particular route onto the beach, which and then goes around to Glenburn Station. if there was the possibility of closing this road, we would need to look at some kind of stock access for heavy transport at literally about 400 or 500 metres uphill of this point, where heavy transport could get to, which is almost direct all the way out to the coast, but not quite. And the farmers would need to bring their stock up to the top of that hill to get it off. But that is a possibility, and I think with ongoing slips in a hill like this that is never going to stop, we may have to consider that.
We hope to have an auction report for policy and planning, so in the sort of next.
Deputy Mayor.
I just had a question on the Carterton Park project. Is there an indicative timeframe of how long the park will be closed for while it's all getting demoed just asking for all the mums? How it's going to be down for?
Stage play.
Yeah.
Could I let Glenda answer that one?
So the tender closed yesterday.
Mhm.
But I had ambitious timeframes of having it completed by December. Realistically, I don't think that's an option. Once we've gone through the tender review with the contractor, we are asking for it to start in September, with a goal for it to be completed by June 2027. And that has been indicated so far that it's achieved. But I think it'll be working out the detail exactly what we might, I don't know the definite answer of how long it's going to be closed for. It'll be.
But we have someone picked now.
We don't.
Okay.
It's closed yesterday.
Okay, you've got the options. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Burns.
I just had a question from page 25 about Te Huinga Tangata Wairarapa Event Centre. Around the budgeting for the feasibility business case for increasing the capacity and seating. And I just noted that we have a workshop scheduled on the Wairarapa Event Centre on the 2nd of September. And I think part of that was going to be talking, around the table, there's been some discussion around the purpose of the event centre and what we see the future of the event centre. So I was just wondering about the timeline around that and whether we should decide on the $25,000 proposed for the business case, whether we should do that after we have the workshop, just because the workshop's going to be something, we might have firm up our ideas, which actually might, change our thoughts on that. Yeah.
Really good point. And just in terms of, can I ask Glenda, in terms of timing, I didn't think that we were going to have anything back from the feasibility until it was much later than the workshop. But, yeah. So absolutely happy, the council's call as to if you wish to delay it, but we don't think we're going to have anything available for the workshop yet because it does take a lot more detailed design feasibility.
Yeah. I guess my thought was just around the $25,000 cost. Whether and we might absolutely decide that we want to do that. I just thought that there was just still some questions around what we're wanting for the event centre, and I thought we could answer those questions first before committing to that budget.
Makes sense. Mm-hmm. Makes sense. It's a recommendation in the report. I'm more than happy to leave that on the table and pick it up at a later meeting if that's what council decides.
I don't know what others think.
Right.
For me, I think that information would help generate the discussion around how we narrow it down to what we want to see for the future of the event centre. So to me, is it creating more room within it, or is it adding the buildings on the side that I know we've had presented around the table before as previous options that were on the table.
So you think getting the study done or
From my perspective, it would help me
Yep.
with.
Okay.
But it is for the table. It is one of the recommendations at the end of Jeff's report. So
Mhm.
we can leave it for that. And but Councillor Round.
Just probably a typo under climate change with the reduction of electricity and diesel. It says compared to 2024/45. Is it supposed to be 25?
Yes, you're correct. You are correct.
And is there anything significant that's led to that decrease?
We've got one hybrid vehicle, one electric vehicle. That both of those vehicles replaced diesel utes or diesel vehicles. So that's positive. We've also been just really conscious around managing of our fleet. Other than that, nothing in particular. The event centre vehicles are electric one. The building team have a hybrid RAV4 to get to site. So
Councillor Casey.
Just a question, just read the library statistics. Looks quite impressive. That's on page, was it 26, I think. New members, seems a good influx of new members, quite regular on a monthly basis. So what's driving that? But also the other thing is I'd like to know is what is the total membership? Like, is it, by what proportion is it growing? And if you remember, are you always a member? Like, is it just a ever accumulating number? Then someone moves away, it doesn't get adjusted. Any thoughts on that?
yeah, Glenda will be able to answer that.
So I don't know the total figures, but I can find out and bring that back to you. The membership gets renewed every 3 years. So every 3 years, if somebody comes in to get a book, we'll do an update, make sure their contact details are the same. If we've got them on for a longer period, they will drop off.
Right.
But in terms of new members, people love the library, and consistently seeing people coming in and signing up for new memberships. That's people moving into the area or people that have been here for a long time and are reviewing because they haven't been to the library for about 5 years or so.
Yeah.
So it is a consistent stream of people.
How do these figures compare to, say, same period last year?
I can find that out.
Yeah, it does look quite healthy, so it's really good to see.
Yeah.
More questions? Councillor Lawrence.
So just on page 38, which relates to the Victoria University Architecture School paper, we've been asked to answer a couple of questions. Not suggesting we actually do that now, but we shouldn't just overlook the fact that we've been asked the questions, and we probably need at some point to give some thought to what the answers are. They basically posited 3 possibilities for how the town might grow, so they can take that into account in their work. And they say scenario A is unlikely. Scenario, they're looking for a guidance between scenario B and scenario C, one of which results in a population growth of 13,000 to 13,000 by 2035, and the other to 17,000. And this depends on how we're planning to drive the town. So I guess my question is, when and how we're proposing to answer that?
Are officers answering that or providing feedback on that?
I thought it'd be quite good. So I've put it in here, let you guys have eyes over it, but perhaps I'll send it out to you by email. And then
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting one, especially considering what discussions we're going through at the moment and how the Wairarapa is going to grow.
Yeah.
If we are.
Yeah.
So I saw it, sorry. Sorry.
Deputy Mayor.
I saw in the back of that document, it did have an email address. Should we file them through you, or can we just go straight to this Jack Quillen McIntosh's email address and send her?
Could you put them through, Jerry and Solitaire, sorry, Glenda and Solitaire are looking
Yeah.
for us.
Mm-hmm. And one other question, how much staff time is this taking doing helping with this research? Is it a big, no?
No. We did originally. We asked. Yeah, and coach one of our staff was kind of to exercise the email through there. We put it.
Very interesting.
Further questions? Councillor Burns?
I just had it's more of a comment on the planning update on page 30. Just around the solar farm developments that continue to be a key area of focus. So I just noted that I received a flyer in my letterbox saying, did you know Carterton Council and your councillors are planning to install a solar farm in the surrounding paddocks by your property? You may wish to speak to your neighbours and mayor about why this hasn't been consulted on. So I just wanted to, it's not that I'm worried about that. It was more about just flagging the fact that there is community interest around these solar farms. And I guess, just commenting around that, and that, we potentially, communication is important for these planning developments. Yeah.
I know there has been a number of solar farms that have gone through a consenting process.
Mhm.
And I know they've been notified, and perhaps I'll let Solitaire talk about the ones that.
Yeah, I think that flyer randomly popped up, and we have no idea where it came from. It certainly wasn't from council. I did actually see it on Facebook in the week and then kind of cringed a little bit. I went, oh, what's it here? I believe it was related to the Harmony proposal, but they're beginning to do some work, and they've actually just started establishing their community forum, which was part of their consent condition. That Harmony one in particular was they completely bypassed council and went fast track.
Where is that located?
Cornwall Road, Hughes Line, it's one of the large ones down that area. Yeah.
Cool.
So that decision is out of our hands.
What is the size? Is there a size beyond which it needs to go through a consenting process?
There is now in the district plan. We do have what we call small scale and community scale. I don't believe, bearing in mind, I wasn't quite anticipating questions about what are the rules on solar farms. I just made more about that survey. I don't believe any solar farms would get through without some form of consent.
Yeah.
But whether that gets notified or not. So if it's a small scale, that would be a private home one. It may be that there is no offence. And it may go through, but any large scale ones would definitely would be a discretionary resource consent under the district plan.
Do you know what large means at all?
One moment, Cora.
Oh, no, it doesn't. There is a threshold anyway, below which it's permitted, above which
The
it's a consent.
district plan definition chapter actually defines small scale, community scale, and large scale. So
Less than 500.
Asking for a friend.
Sure.
yes, absolutely.
Further questions on Jeff's report? I've got a couple, Jeff. First one's just a comment. The Carrington Park toilet refurbishment, those two photos looking amazing. Just wondering if we've had no further issues with vandalism. Okay. So we're back to the normal stuff of people smashing things and okay. Not smashing.
Breaking, but
spray
not
painting.
Yeah.
Right.
Something else.
Yeah, disappointing.
It's only one, sorry. It's only one. So one graffiti.
Okay.
But as I understand it, the some of the components within the toilet itself has been changed to be much easier to replace, much lower cost to replace. Is that bearing out okay?
Else was I going to comment on? The feedback on, there's a lot of feedback in the community, Jeff, around the work that GNC contractors have been doing. Very, very positive.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
Still coming in about the way that they conduct themselves and work with the community. So it's that's really good to hear. A lot of people can get frustrated with contractors, and
I think having a local contractor makes a huge difference to local works. They live here.
another comment I wanted to make just on was around the long-term plan. I just really want to thank the team for the process that we've been through to date. I think it's been very, very good. So thank you for that. Right. No answer to song? No, we'll leave that.
No, it's district plan. I'll confirm the locale and just have up the definitions.
Okay. I believe we have two recommendations. Just getting to them. One that we received the report. I'm happy to move that. We have a seconder. Councillor Round, thank you. All in favour?
Aye.
Next. Carried. And the second recommendation is, I'll just put the recommendation as it is, and you can choose either way. Approves unbudgeted expenditure of 25,000 plus GST funded from reserves to complete a feasibility of the proposed event centre expansion. And I'm happy to move that if there's a seconder. And if there's no seconder, it'll pass. Thank you, Councillor Della. Okay, all in favour of that?
Can we just sort that out? Because I'm not sure we did. If this lapses, and I totally accept Jane's thoughts on this, if we delayed the study until after the September workshop, would we get an outcome, and we then went ahead, would we get an outcome in time to incorporate that in the long-term plan, or is it just going to screw up the whole timetable?
We have put some pressure on them to get a deadline.
Right.
The consequential risk of that is feasibility studies are usually quite wide-ranging in terms of their cost estimates.
Yeah.
And you then go through conceptual design and then detailed design and then, tendering in order to narrow down your cost estimates. So, I mean, it is possible we'll have a number for the LTP, but it could be quite wide-ranging and not nearly as robust as what we would like. We will obviously do whatever we can to not let that happen. But that's the risk of you.
But I guess the other side of the coin is if we have a workshop and we come up with a different set of concepts,
Yeah.
then it would be unfortunate if we commissioned a feasibility study on a different set of outcomes. So,
Deputy Mayor.
on the one hand.
Yeah, I agree. The thought I had was about if it pushes out our long-term plan and stuff. The other thought that I'm having is the decisions that are being made around us today could impact this if we're looking at investing in our event centre, doing a feasibility study. This could be made into something at a later date that isn't an event centre if there's going to be a town hall in Masterton. And so I'm just nervous to spend money on something when there is. If we could push it out of a day, that might be more helpful. I just feel like today's a tricky day to make a decision on spending money when we really have big question marks around the use of the space going forward. But I don't want it to impact the long-term plan. So I do wonder if there's a way if there's a middle ground where we can make a decision. Yeah.
It's not ideal. We'll make it work.
Councillor Newman.
Do you feel like we've got enough guidance from us around the table as to what we want and what we're kind of looking at for the expansion of the events? It would be my concern. I'm worried that you're going to bring something back to us and it's not quite what we were thinking, maybe. Would be my concern that we spend $25,000 and we say, no, like bigger, dream bigger. Why isn't it, or like, no, smaller. But you know what I mean? Like I'd like to know if you feel like you've got enough guidance from us.
Yes and no. So, and I know that doesn't really cross the question. But you've told us to go away and look for that, to look at seating capacity and the extension coming out this way. So what we've gone to them with is give us options. So he's going to come back with that feasibility with options. So can we increase the incentive this way? Can we do it this way? So we're looking at what realistically we can achieve with building that guide. I think that's what we're going to be paying for, is come back with what we can do.
So it'll include things like we've talked about community centre and things. Okay.
So might we be better to proceed with the feasibility study and postpone the workshop until we get the feasibility study back? That would seem to make the most sense.
My understanding of the workshop was that it was more around how we're operating the event centre that currently is, doing that space now and feeding back information around our strategy. So it's kind of, is it two separate things we're talking about?
Then what happens if part of that you come to us and we say, look, we're losing X, Y, Z a year, wrap it up. I'm not saying that would be the decision, but it is, we haven't got all the information and that was what's going to come. So I think they're interlinking.
And there's two big, like that's one end of the scale, but then there's also, we're talking about expansion. So that's actually a really wide range of like ideas and purpose. And I don't really understand, I don't feel clear on it. So I guess my thought was $25,000 is, a bit of money. So do we want to get the clarity first before investing $25,000, into the expansion idea? I didn't think that the expansion idea was a solid idea that was like the direction we were going to move into. It could be. I'm not against that at all. But yeah, that was just my thought around the spend and the timing of the spend.
For me, this is more generating or honing in on thoughts that we had of what we were going to include or go out and consult on in our long-term plan. And to me, if we're going to delay, we're not going to have that opportunity. Is that what I'm hearing? So to me, it's a decision today, probably are we going to consider options for the event centre in our LTP? Because if we are, we need to conduct a feasibility study. If we're not, then we don't approve this budget.
I was just going to ask, has there been any drivers for expansion that has led to this? I mean, being my first term, I'm not sure what's led to the fact that, yes, we need to do the study. Are we finding that the facility has been overbooked? Or I'll take Grace's point as well, is that what Carterton are going to do does have a big bearing. We've got amalgamation, so there's all these bloody balls in the air. I know we've got to try and do something, but has something specifically led to us? We need to do a study on being able to, whether we can expand this, put more seating in. What's led to it? What's led to that need to put it into the LTP?
I think that came from the council. I don't think we can blame the officers for that.
Came from us.
Yeah.
I think I just feel the same. Sorry. I feel the same as Jane. I just feel unsure that I know the direction at all. But I hear you that there's a time frame on it, but there's also a cost.
So you could accept the cost and get the information. That's what you're saying, Steve, like that gives us the information and then we can decide. It's just we have to accept the cost now. Yeah, that's
Yes,
fair enough. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, to provide us with
To provide.
that background information to know what we might want to put into a consultation document for the LTP. We might decide, no, we don't want to put this in the LTP, but yes, it costs $25,000 to find that out. It's quite a big deal if you ask me, what is being considered for the event centre. So to me, that is a very small dollar value when you're looking at what we might consider spending on the event centre for extending it.
I wonder, would it be possible to circulate the scope of work? That- At least that'll clarify what we are asking for, so that if there is any major disjoint between what officers are asking for and what council thought they were asking officers for, we can close that off before we start any work.
And we could agree or disagree on an email round rather than wait till the next council. Because I'm conscious that although the long-term plan doesn't have to be in place till nearly 11 months, that 11 months disappears pretty quickly.
Another thought, just with regards to the long-term plan, if this is something we're consulting on, if we've already done the feasibility study, are we not then sort of putting the answer to the public when they're consulting? If we're consulting on it, it seems like we've already got an answer at that point of what we're sort of leaning towards. And I wonder if the long-term plan consultation could be more of an open-ended question than this is, we've invested 25,000, this is this option. I think it's sort of putting us on a course that I'm not sure we have all the information around the table to continue on with.
But I think that feasibility study is going to give us several options.
Yeah.
In the end, that we choose one out of it.
Is it going to be sufficient enough of a document that we could go to Masterton and say, stop what you're doing, look at this? Like, is it going to be enough that we could then pitch to stop them? Because we need to either save this or put it to bed and make it something else, because we can't have two town hall type buildings in the Wairarapa. And so I'm just wondering, is this $25,000 going to be wasted? Could it be better spent at a slightly later point when we're going, okay, this is our new vision for the space, or we're creating a document that's going to stop Masterton from building their own competing venue?
I don't think this would do that.
Yeah.
I think this would tell us whether or not it's a possibility to do that with this building. That's all we'll be told.
Yeah.
And detailed design would have to come through and actually figure that out. I think it's the based on the structure of the building and what we know about it, what could you do?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think it'll give us that answer. What I would just say on the LTP and leading officers or council down a particular path to an outcome, when you consult on an LTP, you have to have a preferred option. You can't put no option out without any preference.
Yeah.
You must tell the community your preference. So if this is part of it, you tell them whether your preference is, one of the various options.
How far away are we knowing what Masterton are going to do? I know they've said that if it's under 25, they're going to go for it, right? Have they got a deadline for that?
Well, that's Masterton's call, but at this stage, it would appear they remain under 25.
Right, so it's likely then that a new town hall will go ahead.
Well, it's their call.
Yeah, sure, I understand that.
They have a workshop this month.
Yeah.
It's been asked if that can be made public.
Because if they do go ahead, really there's no point in expanding because we're competing for the same events. And now we've got two big suppliers.
Another town centre.
But there's also a but for what this could be used for, but if we've heard from our youth council how they want a community centre. So part of the extension or feasibility study is a community centre, which could be part for a youth hub. So we're also finding out other things and whether we can just extend this to make it bigger. So
here's Matt.
So yes or no?
we have a motion on the floor that's been seconded. So I'll put that motion, which is recommendation 2, to the vote. And all in favour? Against? Do you want that recorded?
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor, Councillor Burns and Councillor Casey are against. No abstentions, do we? That's the word of the day. Abdicating using abstination. Right, with that.
I think it's actually a stench.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Councillor Lawrence.
Absent.
We will move on to item 8.2. Waitī Waters, Statement of Expectations. Catherine, come to the table.
Koto, nice to see you all again. So the purpose of today is to adopt, to adopt the statement of expectations for Waitī Waters. I'll just make a couple of process points just about how we've got here, just so that we can remind you guys of that. So as required under your shareholders agreement, the statement's been developed by your stakeholders forum, which has been done over the last 3 months or so. The statement has been shared with the board of Waitī Waters, who have confirmed that they're comfortable with everything that's in it and that they are they're already working on its implementation, which is fantastic. All 4 councils have been briefed on it in late June. There's only one change that's been made to it since then, which was the change brought by Carterton. So that you'll see that expanded paragraph in there around amalgamation, which is live and very live today. And yes, the final step in the process, the stakeholder forum approved this on the 14th of July and has recommended to the 4 shareholding councils that it be adopted. All I'll say on that, well trodden ground, but happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Catherine. Questions? Councillor Casey.
Yeah, Catherine, couldn't really quite find it here, and I'm not sure if it's part of the expectations, but and look, this may have been answered, so all you'll know, I guess, is when it comes to billing, when it comes to a rental property, is it to the occupier or is it to the owner?
All of that detail has to be worked through.
Right, hasn't been decided yet. Okay.
I thought the legislation changed the responsibility from the landowner to
The occupier. Okay, that's what I think.
I think the waters legislation has changed that.
So it's like power. Yep. Okay.
It may, it depends on what how the structure of that bill is set up as well, but some of it, I think, may be able to go to the landowner and some to the occupier if it's a.
But I know with Te Akiwai that they're actually billing on the capital value because they don't have water meters. But then again, is that going to be to the occupier or, well, it's not our problem.
Again, the legislation has a timeline for that to be transitioned out.
Yeah.
And I believe it's 2028.
5 years.
5 years. So they can only continue for a period of time using capital values, and then they have to move to a more volumetric charge based on water use.
Right. So while it's on capital value, of course, they can't do volumetric. So that's the end of that, whereas we can. Yeah.
It depends. I think Te Akiwai, I think it depends where you are. Wellington City have always done it on capital value. I think it's a like us
volumetric.
Well, not volumetric. It's a cost per connection
Plus excess.
I have to say that is the worst piece of public relations communication in history.
And how many comms team do they have? more comms you throw at it, the worse the communication.
Present company executive.
This is the idea. Clearly only need one.
They could spend some of their website funding on it.
I have a question.
Councillor Lawrence.
Yeah, which I'm sure I should have understood this earlier. Perhaps I wasn't reading. Just in terms of partnerships, I understand the Rangitāne and Whakahono Claim Settlement Act. Te Rohe Orongo Kako Joint Redress Act. What does that?
This is, perhaps I could ask Jerry, this is Whakahono, is it?
Well, we've got three outlined in three possible following pieces of legislation. There's the Rangitāne and Whakahono Claim Settlements Acts, and then the Rohe Orongo Kako Joint Redress Act of 2022. I'm sure I've come across that before.
So overarching.
Stop. We need to find out rather than speculate. I don't answer that.
It's probably been all these things before. I just haven't noticed it.
Off the line report.
What page are you on?
Oh,
64.
So I wonder if it's Wairarapa.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
We're looking that up for Councillor Lawrence. As any further questions for Catherine? Councillor Della, you have, I was actually going to ask Jeff if Jeff was happy with the document.
Yes. Yeah. I think in terms of setting a starting point for water entity to develop their water services strategy, I think that's an absolutely, it's well done. Hats off to Catherine and the team. And also the stakeholder forum that's participated in doing this.
Thanks, Jeff. Sorry, Brian.
Yeah, no, I'm more than happy with it. As there has been a lot of work gone into it, and obviously the board are happy with it. The thing to remember about this stakeholders agreement is it is a living document, and we can alter, add to, or whatever as a board. So that's the important thing. I mean, but it's definitely a good starting document, and more than happy with it. Thank you.
Okay, so I've just got a question on page 62 of the expectations, just above efficiency. You've got while maintaining costs to serve pricing as well as regulatory requirements, Waitī Water should carefully consider current and future community affordability as it sets its capital program. I mean, I just sort of wonder practically what can you do? You are required to manage an asset now that will have a life, needs to be replaced. What costs? And so I don't know really how the affordability part is one of those things that some people are going to find harder than others, but I don't know really what you can do in that regard.
It's definitely a challenge,
Yeah.
Which the board is super live to. And so at the moment, there's quite a significant piece of work going on looking at the capital program across the whole kind of region, but also at a district level because of the way the pricing works, and to think about how might you deliver this in a way that does meet the regulatory requirements where you've got assets that really do need to be renewed or things, and those have to do, you have to do that. But then where might you have choices or might be able to prioritise?
How much would it come down, though, that you need to push this back onto the government? Because like the government does winter energy payments for people who can't afford their power. Really, surely affordability becomes responsibility of the government rather than you as a service provider.
I mean, there will be, well, I probably won't comment on what the government might or might not do, but the Waitī Waters organisation will have to adopt organisational policies around around ability to pay and hardship and things like that to make sure that there are necessary arrangements in place to support those customers who may have difficulty paying.
What you don't want to do is do what councils, I guess, have done in the past, is to try and make things affordable. You kick the can down the road and then you pay for it later.
There is Councillor Casey, this is almost like a three tripartite agreement where you've got revenue on the one hand, your capital program on the other, and debt and borrowing on the other. And affordability tends to be a mix of all of those things together, how fast you go on your capital program, how much you borrow, therefore all those two things will impact how fast your rates go up and how unaffordable things become, and also service levels. And the service levels that you're delivering. So I think that's what Catherine's referring to, is the board's acutely aware of these issues and looking at the capital program, and they will then look at the service program and consequently whether or not that is funded from debt or rates at the same time, and try to manage affordability. But they will, the Commerce Commission will also look over the top in terms of affordability to make sure that they're not going too fast or leaning too hard on one or other of those areas, which, as you say, comes back to bite you later on.
Because I know that Te Akiwai had come out, I think, with a $2,000 a year thing going up to $7,000 in a few years' time. Well, anyone seeing that is going to see red, and they have. And I guess similar things could happen here. We just don't know yet. Just an observation.
To answer Councillor Lawrence's question, Te Rohe o Rangakako joint address established the Wairarapa joint statutory.
Okay. But just vague, following on from Simon's point, it is interesting. Some people in the community can get a rates rebate. If we're taking the water's cost out of the rates.
You can't get a rebate if it wasn't paid through the rates. Can you?
Maybe someone should think about that. So there should be some redress respect for the cost of water.
Very good point.
Not that we're going to be able to sort that out here.
Not to that. But I mean, yes, there will have to be, and you'll see reflected in here. There are a strong set of expectations in here around customer, a focus on the customer, including affordability, but not just affordability, around transparency and service levels and, providing information and things like that. And as part of that, there will need to be policies that do target or that are appropriate for, supporting people in hardship or with payment plan, the ability to pay in different ways, that kind of thing. And there's an expectation in here around a customer charter as well that will actually be the kind of overarching contract's not the right word, but effectively a sort of a contract with the customer about how they will be, what the services that they can expect and ways in which that they can engage with the organisation.
A question. I know we can only the organisation can operate within the reality of today, but looking ahead, with the amalgamation and our entity spanning across Tararua as well, how does that impact our agreements that we have in place for this entity with the statement of expectations? Does that all have to be redone at a certain point, because each of these townships will be dissolved into something else? So I just wonder how that impacts if we have to sign new contracts and everything starts again.
It may do.
Yeah.
There's provision in I can't remember, sorry, whether it's the Constitution or the shareholders agreement, because I've sort of seen this coming sometime, around, potentially the need to look at those kind of foundation documents. And there is obviously a reference in here to kind of reconsidering those. I guess it depends what the end kind of outcome is and how simple it may be or not to kind of adapt these to a new, effectively, shareholding arrangement.
Yeah. Okay.
Any further questions for Catherine?
That was fairly easy for you, wasn't it?
Rightio. We have 3 recommendations. Going by the discussion and so forth, I think you feel positively about the statement of expectations, so I'm going to take them all together. And would you like me to read them out, Lou?
That's fine.
So I'm going to put that recommendation 1, 2, and 3. I'm happy to move those. Do we have a seconder?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Councillor Casey, all in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you
Appreciate the
very
work
much.
you're doing on this.
Thank you.
I hope it was as easy for you up and to the north of us. Now where we up to? We are up to
Water main
8.3, extension of High Street water mains renewal. Lawrence?
Mayor, councillors, Deputy Mayor, I'll just bring this paper. We have had a couple of meetings with NZTA who have requested us to do a bit more work in terms of the water mains renewal. So I am bringing the option for the current to see what the costs are to extend it as far as Richmond, which would be an extension of what they're already doing at the moment. And they'll be finishing that fairly soon. And then there would be an alternative for an extension for what they'd done in terms of the rehabilitation previous on the CBD, where they'd be going south past New World. I will just draw your attention is a little bit different for that section because we don't have to have a rider main because New World has a feed from Pembroke Street and also all the shops on the west side of State Highway 2 are actually fed from the back of the properties. So it does make it a bit simpler. So what we're proposing as an alternative is to minimise how much excavation we do by putting in a smaller pipe within the existing main, so we don't have to excavate all the way down State Highway 2. We'd just be doing spots like a bit of a entrance where they pull it through, and also where there's going to be laterals and that connected. So it should be a bit simpler than what we have seen previously. But it would mean that in that location particularly, we wouldn't be digging up. And when we've seen the CBD, there was 600 mils of asphalt, which would, I think I've sort of estimated would be 4 or 5 times as much to reinstate every leak from what we do previously. Any questions?
You got a few of them.
Councillor Round.
It's not over in the budget expenditure that we've already approved.
Correct, yes.
Sure.
Yes.
And by sleeving the existing, are we going to reduce any pressures?
So there would be further in terms of, there would be a short-term reduction in pressures. But long-term, we'd be taking the ring main around town by a different route.
So what kind of time period?
It'll only be about 2 years.
Deputy Mayor.
I was going to ask what the risks are, and I think Councillor Rounds just highlighted a risk there. So how much of a negative impact is that going to be? Are you talking it goes from high pressure to a trickle, or just it's a slight reduction in flow?
It would be a slight reduction in flow, yes. Yeah.
Noticeable?
It would be just like you've got to take the whole network as a whole.
Yeah.
So it would be just on that sort of high street and only firefighting capacity.
Okay.
Want to know what your showers are going to be like.
But you wouldn't notice it in terms of things. And you will find that a lot of your design around town with pipe diameters are dependent on firefighting capacity, not what your residential use in that is.
So in an emergency, when a fire connection is required, what does that, it just means the water's not coming out as hard?
In that section.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in other sections that are in the right of main, that are in the main, would have higher pressure.
We've also got to consider that we're a rural volunteer fire brigade, so they've got pumping capacity, which in town, which are relying just on straight hydrant pressure.
Yeah.
So it would just mean they'll have to use their pump a bit more in a couple of locations because we're only talking about 2 hydrants there.
Okay.
So part of that renewal will be affecting the fire station.
If they were to use that for firefighting capacity, but they're only using it to fill their tanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it won't.
My other question on the extension on the southern bit, according to this plan, you're stopping before Richmond Road.
That's what they're requiring, but we've proposed to go up to Richmond because that's where the next crossing is, so that we're completing rather than having a dead end and having a whole lot of flushing to do to keep the water turned over.
Okay, so it includes takeoff to Rexford Street.
Yeah. And yes, the costs are at fact. So for the southern section, it would be an additional 800,000. For the CBD around near New World, it'd be a 400,000 and 50,000 for contractor management. So all up about 1.25 million.
Thanks, Lawrence.
Yeah, I have concerns about slip lining. We've done it before, obviously, in some cases, and you do get a drop in friction. You create more friction with a smaller pipe, and the amount of potholing you've got to do to create that slip lining. Sometimes it's just easier to dig the whole trench. And I'm just wondering have you done any costing on
what the alternative?
Yes, instead of slip lining. Is it a third more or double?
I'd have to check. No, I don't know the comparative, but I would say it'd probably be double. Basically, I think that the distances are similar. However, the traffic management plan would be more because we're in the main going south. Sorry, you're in the main traffic one going south.
South.
Yeah, it's in the southern lane, and it's
You're going to have that anyway, aren't you?
yes, yeah, but it'll cost. I think the cost will be more.
What
Annoy the businesses for longer, I would imagine.
wasn't that section of road replaced?
So it was extended in the CBD up to about just past the additional crossing. So it'd be extension from that one south is what they want to do.
Okay,
So it would mean when we go to replace the CBD, we could continue on that slip lining for the already replaced, refurbished, without having to dig as much and doing a trench all the way through that refurbished. It is, at least it's through a less depth because it's in the shoulder, rather than because that is the live state highway. That'll be 600 mil of asphalt.
So which side of the road are we talking about?
That's heading south.
East
side.
East.
It's not a good shot.
One closest to ITM.
Yeah. Hmm.
And when would you do it?
Would be looking to do it towards the end of the year, basically.
You know what I was thinking.
They have indicated they'll be flexible about moving around. So we might be able to make sure we're not disrupting Christmas. But yeah, it would be this financial year rather than delaying it at least 2 or 3 years.
Thanks, Lawrence. I'm interested in what Brian had to say, and I do agree with the potential for replacing the pipe instead of slip lining it. But an indication of what those costs might be would be really good, so that we had an option.
Okay.
Other than that, I'm certainly in a positive frame of mind of staying in front of NZTA and not coming in behind them and digging up the road at some point. And I know our community, it's something that they focus on a lot, is the road continually being dug up. And it just ends up being a shambles. So
when was it planned for? If NZTA didn't put pressure on, when would you have looked at doing it?
Basically, in terms of expenditure, it would have been over 2 financial years.
Been a couple of years out.
Yeah.
Just to further that discussion, probably more on your thoughts, Steve. You know, like we're going to have really good infrastructure in the southern part. We've got really good infrastructure in the top end. In the middle, we're going to have a piece that's going to create problems, friction, etc. Surely, for consistency, would be better off with a complete pipe right through.
So the plan would be to take it through the larger diameter pipe through Carrington Park, then up Dixon. So you'd still have that ring main. It would just be going on a slightly alternative route, and then marry up with Park Road. So you'd still have that continuous large diameter pipe feeding. It would just be delayed.
Street.
Your main street wouldn't be your ring main.
That's 2 years down the track.
Yes.
And that's more expensive.
Perhaps, Lawrence, you could just explain the lifespan of sleeving compared to new type, just to help everyone.
It would still be using your same diameter pipe being installed inside the old AC pipe.
But the lifespan of that sleeve.
We're not talking about putting a liner in. We're installing the same main, same.
Okay.
So
it's a whole
pipe.
pipe.
Yeah, inside it. We're not trying to reline the old one. So there would be like an annulus of some sort of resin or concrete put in so that it maintains the bedding around the actual internal pipe. So yes, you do get a loss or reduction in terms of the pipe diameter for a short period.
Makes sense. Councillor Newman.
Just a question. I know nothing about this stuff, and I trust Rachel and Brian. But I'm also assuming that the questions they've asked are stuff that you've already considered.
Yes.
And you still thought this was the best plan moving forward.
Yeah.
Because of the budget, or because
Because of the budget, but also to try to remove the main feeder pipe out of the state highway through the CBD.
it seems quite smart. Especially when you've got traffic management costs, the main roads, the big issue.
As well as if you don't have to go digging up that main and you're maintaining your 100 mil minimum sort of feed to your hydrants.
Mhm.
Because, there's an argument, if you didn't have the firefighting capacity, the majority of those ones, a 50 mil diameter pipe would feed them adequately.
Thanks, Lawrence. Further questions, discussion?
Just one point of clarification, just getting back to budgets. I remember this coming up, something along these lines coming up a month or three ago. And it was basically a swap of budgets between freshwater and wastewater.
Yes.
This is not that. This is an
No, this is entirely bringing budgets from further in the LTP, basically.
And it's going to be debt funded and handed to
Waitī.
our friend from the last.
Catherine's gone now.
Long term, that's the same sort of argument in terms of you're doing it now, less reinstatement, less leakage, and
We wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't for NZTA.
No.
It's because the chief executive is
badgering us.
had enough of that. Let's bring it forward.
So there must be actually quite a saving from, traffic management and digging it up another time. And that's not insubstantial, was it?
No.
Right. So
Well,
even though it's not budgeted, we are saving a dig up and we're saving traffic management.
So to give you sort of a comparison, we did a repair, which we had to go back and do 3 times because NZTA's surface was deteriorating around what we'd done. So we had to do more and wider repairs, and it cost us about 25,000 in total just for the reinstatement for one leak.
So just get this right, when it comes to NZTA, we're doing it at the same time NZTA are doing their work as well?
No,
We'll
be
do
doing
it. We'll reinstate and then they'll come through and do a whole new surface.
At about the same time?
Yes.
Similar.
After us.
Afterwards.
Yeah, 2 or 3 months sort of afterwards,
Yes, they certainly don't. We don't want to cut up their surface if it's more expensive than our surface.
No.
Yeah.
Or we just, as I said, the first sort of option is to go back and say, do we move that? No? Okay. Sorry, I said we just go back to them and say no. That's not an option anymore.
Well, we did say that first 2 times and NZTA came and had a workshop with council.
Workshop means you must do it our way. That makes
Further
sense.
discussion?
We're watching you, Brian and Rachel.
Shall we let them vote first?
The fact that you're hooking up with Dixon Street and so forth. Creating a new
The ring
main.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes
Removing it from High Street. It's, Recommendations. I'll take the receives the report first. We have a mover and a seconder. Councillor Round and Deputy Mayor, thank you. All in favour? Against? And second recommendation approves 1.25 million unplanned water supply capital expenditure to be funded from reserves where possible. Then borrowing for 800,000 for the water main extension from Howard up to Richmond, 400,000 for the slip line from Carterton Park past Pembroke Street to the parking area near the pedestrian crossing south of Holloway Street, and 50,000 contractor management costs and engineering check by independent consultant.
Sorry, I have a question now. Just with regards to using the reserves first.
From a procedural perspective,
Sorry.
we need a seconder to the motion before you can debate the motion.
So,
There you go.
Thank you.
I wasn't sure whether I moved it.
Yeah.
Council, I've moved it. Councillor Casey has seconded it, and Deputy Mayor.
Sorry, now I have a question. Just with regards to using the reserves first, is that reserves ring fence to water, so we have to use it? Okay, that's smart. I was just checking we weren't using reserves where we didn't actually need to deplete stock.
Some reserves could be available where we are expanding the size of the pipe, so catering for growth.
Yep.
And they could come from financial contributions that we've received from development. But otherwise, it is depreciation reserves that are there for funding renewals.
Yeah.
And once those two reserve opportunities are depleted, we will then use borrowing.
Yeah, so that 800,000 would be an increase in diameter.
Yeah.
Put that to the floor. All in favour?
Who's going first?
I move that.
Sorry, I've not. What are we up to?
The recommendation two,
Moving.
approving the
Page
expenditure of the
69.
budget.
Sorry,
That's right.
Grace put me off track.
I moved it, councillor Casey seconded it, and I've put it to the vote. So all in favour? I against? Carried. Thank you, team. Yeah, Lawrence, get busy.
Yeah, thank you, Lawrence.
8.4, electoral arrangements. Jerry,
Tēnā koutou katoa. Oh, sitting down in the cheap seats. Electoral arrangements. So we're bringing this paper to you primarily to meet a legislative requirement to upsize our electoral system. But also we've included, just noting our neighbours are actually due for representation reviews at the moment, and also obviously the reforms currently underway. And it might be worthwhile clarifying our representation arrangement alongside this as well, just for clarity really for the community. Although we don't have to under legislation at this time, where we having completed that 3 years ago. So happy to take any questions.
thanks, Jerry. Questions for Jerry? Discussion for Jerry.
We've got a 3 o'clock appointment.
I just want to, so one of it is STV. We've been going FPP. Just a thought really is that I still don't believe many people fully understand STV. FPP is very easy and it just comes out with a simple, in some ways, uncontestable outcome. So that's just my view on that.
And to that point, we've included the pros and cons and in the paper to try and get that separation for people. I guess how they can learn to understand and use the STV and vote.
Because regional council's STV.
Yeah.
And I think Wellington's STV as well. I have heard it said, and this is interesting, I don't know if it's true, Jeff, I'm sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but when Kerry Prendergast was mayor, she lost under STV, but had it been FPP, she would have won.
Correct. Councillor Lawrence.
The only comment I'd make to this is I recall when we went through this in the last triennium, we decided to stick with FPP because a move to STV would be somewhat confusing, and we only expected one more election for the Carterton District Council, and it wasn't really worthwhile changing it. That's absolutely the case now. So well, thanks for the opportunity. But
And I think there's a balance that you've got in front of you with both of these is the timing and the cost and the balance of what might be coming up in the future.
Yeah. Any further questions for Jerry? Discussion? Okay. I'll take number 1, receive the report.
It's easy.
Councillor Newman, seconder, please. Councillor Burns, thank you. All in favour?
Aye.
And recommendation 2. Does not agree.
I'd like to move that we don't agree.
Does not agree to undertake a representation review, noting this is not legislatively required until 2029. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Della. All in favour?
Aye.
Next. Does that mean we leave out 3?
Three becomes redundant.
Thank you. Thank you, Jerry. Jerry?
Yeah.
And 8.5. Updated policy on elected members' allowances and expenses. Oh, this is always contentious.
So this is our just annual review, and we update this as at 1 July as the Remuneration Authority is published. So the changes really just highlight a slight change to the mileage allowance within the district is probably the one difference for your consideration this time. Others are just really the increase in kilometre payments, the home security allowance, just to include councillors who live out of the district, which wasn't included in the REM authority provisions before, and a couple of other payment charges that we've made. If anyone has any questions on those?
Thank you, Jerry. Councillor Burns?
I just wanted to know, so does district just mean the Carterton Council boundaries? Is that what it means? Yeah, okay, yeah, cool. Thanks.
Don't have anyone who lives out, or you do, don't you? You outside district?
Around the corner.
Oh, for sure. Great sure.
So every district council has to approve these and they can approve different.
Yes, yes. Yes, council can choose to implement them or not.
These are all the guidelines of. Yep.
No further questions, discussion, recommendations? Let's take the first two. Receives the report, notes the local government elected members 26-27 determination increasing elected members' remuneration effective 1st July 2026. We have a mover and a seconder. Deputy Mayor and Councillor Gallen, all in favour?
Aye.
Against? And 3, agrees to amend clause 2.1.3 that elected members' travel allowance applies to local authority business within the district only at the discretion of the Mayor. I suppose, should I move that? We have a seconder? Councillor Brown, all in favour? Against? And 4, adopts the updated elected members' allowances and expenses policy 26-27, including the amendment and recommendation 3. Mover, seconder. Councillor Gallen, Councillor Della, all in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Okay, 8.6. Rangitāne or Wairarapa mana Whakahono a Rohe initiation letter.
So alongside our neighbouring councils, the initiation letter from Rangitāne has been presented to council, and the Mayor and the Chief Executive have fulfilled a couple of the points that were required under the legislation. You will likely be aware that there is a change to the legislation pending from the government, which puts the new initiations or the new agreements that weren't in place currently can no longer transfer over, so that it now applies to any existing and any new agreements cannot move into the new related system. So our recommendation is that we pause the processes we've been proceeding just at the moment. We're expecting that change to be confirmed and direction given from the government once those bills pass.
Thank you, Jerry. Questions for Jerry?
Just a question on the recommendations. Recommendation 3 notes that further guidance on the development of future iwi participation agreements is expected following the passage of the legislation. Should we not say something in there about implementation or discussion of the letter should wait till then? Because it just sort of, it says we note the guidance on changing the legislation, but doesn't say what we should
Do after that.
Do after that.
And yes, or that we're pausing the work, the progress already on the initiation letter.
Yeah.
The process.
Are you creating a new recommendation, altered recommendation, councillor Lawrence?
Yeah, if Robin can write down whatever you said.
So notes that current progress towards a mana whakahono Rohe agreement is paused and that council will await further guidance for proceeding.
Following the passage of legislation.
We're not sure what shape those forms those will take at the moment.
That's a long list of things. I'm sure.
All about the setup of the new MOU with relative iwi, consider basic, isn't it? But we don't know what we need to put in. Well, they don't either.
Do you have that, Robin? Yeah. Do you need to read that back?
How
Oh,
about I take the first two and then we'll ask Robin to read that back. So I'm happy to move that one, we receive the report, and two, receives the Rangitāne mana Whakahono Rohe initiation letter. We have a second? Councillor Burns, thank you. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. And recommendation 3, please, Robin.
We note that current progress towards a mana whakahono agreement is paused and council will await further guidance before proceeding.
Message of passing of legislation. Follow.
Either works.
Yeah.
Okay, let's leave it at Robin's. We have a mover and a seconder. Councillor Newman. Councillor Della, all in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. 8.7.
Stacked, Jerry.
Proactive release of council meeting documents, 1st of January to 30th of June, 2026.
thank you, Bishop.
There's paper in the day.
Yes.
Yes. Apologies. So 6 monthly, we're reviewing those public excluded meetings and workshops to release what we can, we feel needs to be released for transparency. I do just want to acknowledge Robin's work in this space because it is very time consuming to work through all these and to make sure that A, they can be, and B, what needs redacting still is done appropriately. So it's a very sensitive and detailed focused task. So it's to acknowledge Robin for the time that this does take, but we are committed to making sure we can provide our community with as much transparency about your mahi that as we can. So
Thanks, Sherry. Questions for Jerry? I know there's some discussion. Councillor Della.
Thank you, Mayor Steve. Yeah, I just like to refer to page 103, recommendation 6. Notes that a further report will be presented to council on the 5th of August, which is today, confirming completion of the renewal process and seeking approval of the final employment arrangements. This is to do with the CE employment contract. So the CE employment contract was is for a further 2 years, subject to 2 matters to be resolved before finalising the agreement. The CE contract finishes this month, in fact this week, Friday the 7th. The finalisation of the individual employment contracts agreement should have been done in July or June. There is nothing pertaining to this in today's agenda, which I'm surprised at. Our independent chair, to me, is dragging the chain and slowing down the process, which I'm not happy about. He did commit to lead this process right at the start and made sure that we were on track and got information back to him as quick as we could. So from that, I really need an update and an explanation as to the progress and what has been the delays.
Thank you, councillor Byrne. I'm happy to suggest that Deputy Mayor and myself are very disappointed with the progress from our support outside of council, put it that way. And yeah, we have discussed this with Jeff, and yeah, I'm sure that there will be further discussions from this point, but
Sorry, yes, sorry, Grace. We've got 2.5 days to resolve this, and it's got to be done. You know, it's just not good enough.
Yeah, I totally agree, councillor Della. And as the chair of the committee, I take responsibility for the fact that this has taken so long, and I'm equally frustrated and disappointed. I was just saying to the mayor earlier today, I came back after having a baby 12 days prior to a meeting because I thought that was when the stuff was all going to be signed off. That was April 28th or something, and so I'm frustrated that's taken so long. Every step of the way there has been another step and another step and another step, and I think the mayor and I have constantly said, what's the hold up? Why do all these steps need to keep being taken? It felt like a very drawn out process. There's been delay after delay, and there's been missteps along the way as well. And we have been communicating with our external advisor today, still yet to have that all finalised, and it's not acceptable because we are, as you say, 2 days out from the end of our CE's contract. So this has been a painful process, and we'll be looking to make decisions following getting this all tied off on Friday.
So you can commit to that?
Absolutely.
I don't just want Deputy Mayor Hayling to take responsibility for this. She might be chair of the committee, but this is my responsibility as well. It's my document that I sign with our CE if he chooses to extend with us. So yeah, I take responsibility with that as well. So the pressure is on our external advisor, and I trust that he will have something through to me in very quick time so that we can have this discussion with our CE. But yeah.
Okay. There's a risk, of course, that he doesn't.
It is a risk.
But not one we want to contemplate.
No.
Not in a public forum. Any further discussion on Jerry's paper and the contents?
Just a comment. I commend the council on the process of every 6 months releasing this amount of information. I think it's a fantastic way to show transparency and openness to our community, and I can see a lot of work's gone into doing this all, Robin. So thank you for providing that level of transparency to council's business.
Yep, agreed. So we have 2 recommendations there, and I am happy to take them both together. 1, that we received the report, and 2, notes the report and minutes from meetings and workshops for the period 1st of January to 30th of June 2026 that are being proactively released. Have a seconder? Councillor Gallen, all in favour? Against? Thank you, Jerry. 8.8, Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act requests.
Again, a standard report for council meetings. So we are pleased to see, although we've picked up in the last week or 2, but we're managing our numbers of Lagoimas really well. The topics are quite varied and continuing to be quite interesting around information that the community and people are seeking from us.
Thank you. Questions? Discussion?
Just looking at the number of requests received, it seems fairly even, doesn't it? Except for the blast in January.
We may anticipate more requests with an upcoming general election.
Yeah.
We are seeing some of the requests coming through that
Like our
are
friends at the Taxpayers Union.
not just the Taxpayers Union, a number of groups are requesting information from every council about particular things. So we've just seen an uptick. It's not any particular group or entity. It's in general at this stage of the election cycle.
What you're saying then is that come say September, October, you'll expect an increase because as we lead up to the election.
Thank you. With that, we have one recommendation, and that's that we receive the report with mover and Mr. Gimmer. Councillor Della and Deputy Mayor, thank you. All in favour? Against? Carried. 8.9, service requests and complaints.
Yeah, again, standard report. One thing I would just like to highlight in this meeting's report is the work we're doing around our service request system. So you'll note quite a large reduction in number of outstanding requests. We've been doing some work really just around how we're recording and responding to our customers, which is improving the service at the customer experience level. So in the past, we've continued to keep requests open in the council system until the work was completed, specifically and usually in the roading space, which can take some time. And we've moved that system to letting the customer know when the work has been programmed by our roading teams, and at that point closing it off in our system, but it remains open with the roading contractor, who will then manage the ongoing communication, including letting people know when the work has been completed.
Oh, so transfer it off.
It's just moving one, but I guess for our purposes, as long as the customer contact is maintained. In the past, we've actually just been duplicating where the requests have been open. So it is still a work in progress, and we're just still refining some of it, but it's what we're hoping to get to. We've mentioned we have increased between us and South Wairarapa the admin support for the roading team to enable them to be providing a high level of, or having the time to provide a high level of customer service and contact. So that's working really well.
Thanks, Sherry. Questions?
At the risk of not having read this in detail, I'm just interested in the life of the. I said in detail.
You know, we're recording.
It's our little secrets.
Let me get on to the question. Get the attention off. The life of a. Is there sort of like, what's the average life of a service request?
If it's not roading or operations, it's generally pretty short. Some can be resolved obviously on the day over the phone. Generally, where the work is going to require to be programmed or specifically roading, it takes some time.
If you transfer it off onto roading, that terminates it on your system, correct?
Or of the CDC system. Yes,
so that should help keep the life, because you don't want service requests dragging out, do you?
No, and in the past we've held over some, a couple of years old potentially. So, yeah.
It does look like you've still got one from 2024.
Why that one's
I'll just terminate it, see if anyone notices.
Conscientious.
There are issues that take a long period of time, but we've just earlier in the report, the road at Te Whare Road, it's a significant issue. I know a lot of our water race issues only occur infrequently when we have flooding events or significant rain events, so they can take a while to resolve. And some of them are quite material in terms of cost, where we're transporting water underneath roads and that kind of thing.
In terms of terminating it though, is it just your decision to terminate, or have you got the sign off of those? Close those, yeah.
Rather than,
Yeah.
Complete.
it comes back to the responsible manager, and they will determine whether or not the request is sufficient for us to program it, or whether or not we can respond back to the client and say, thank you for your request. We've considered it, but we're not taking any action at this stage. And that will depend on what's being requested, really.
How many people using the app?
Yes, I don't know what the numbers are, but yes, no, I think Amir's using the app quite well. But yes, many people are finding it quite well. And the part of the acknowledgement system as well, we're starting to generate also acknowledgements from wherever people interface with that. So whether it's by email, through the app, they'll get an acknowledgement back again, and then through the system itself. So yeah, so we're still doing some work around those things.
No further questions, discussions? We have a recommendation, and that's that we receive the report. Mover and the seconder, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Newman, thank you. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you, Jerry. Right. 9, exclusion of the public. I'm happy to move that we move to open to the public. Second. Councillor Newman, all in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried.